Welcome, folks. Shavua Tov, Good Tavach. New week, new parsha, new inspiration. We have Parshas Eikev, the third parsha in the book of Dvarim. Exactly.
That's how Yaakov got his name.
Well, because he robbed the heel of his brother before he was born.
Okay, let's get right into it. V'haya Eikev, and it will be because. So the word Eikev over here, which means heel in the literal sense, it means here because. Because Tishmu, that you will heed Es HaMishpatim, the ordinances, Ha'ela, these ordinances, Ushmartim Asisim, and you will guard and perform them, do them. Ushmar Hashem Elokecha Lecha, and Hashem, He will guard and keep for you, your God, as bris, the covenant, as a chesed, and the kindness, Asher Nishba Lavesecha, that He had sworn to the forefathers. Rashi, V'haya Eikev Tishmu, unusual term. Eikev. So, as we mentioned, these are the word Eikev literally means heel. In context, it means Ela mitzvahs akalos. These are the relatively lighter commandments she'adam dash ba'akevav, that a person tramples with his heel. In other words, you don't take seriously, right? Tishmu, listen to them, listen and do them, right? That's the context over here. So that's why it becomes because. Okay. And Hashem, your God, will safeguard for you the covenant. So He will keep His promise. You be careful with the simple mitzvahs that people trample upon, and I'll take care of my promise. Va'ahevcha, and He will love you. And He will bless you, and He will multiply you, and He will bless the fruit of your womb, and the fruit of your soil, your grain, your wine, your oil, the Shagara lefecha means the offspring of your cattle. V'ashtar tzonecha, and the ashtara is tzonecha, and the choice of your flock. Ala adama, on the land, asher nishbala, that was sworn lavasecha to your forefathers, a seis law, to give to you. In other words, that God had sworn that He will give, right? Rashi. So the word shagar alafecha. So we translated offspring of your cattle, right? Lade bikarcha, it means the offspring of cattle, hanekeva mishageres memeha, the female sends forth from her insides. So the word shagar is the way I understand it, that which comes forth, right? The word shagar means comes forth. So in the context over here, it means the offspring that comes forth. Vashtar is senecha, right? The Menachem Perish. So Menachem explained this to mean Abirei Bashan, the strong ones of Bashan. Mivchar Hatoim, which means the choices of the flock. The strong ones, the choices of the flock. Kamay Ashtarus Karnaim, like we had in Genesis, this term, Ashtarus Karnaim, Lashon Chayzak, means strong. Onklis Tirgim, Onklis understands it. Edrei Tza'anach, the herds of your flock. So Rashi understands it as the strong, meaning the choice of the flock, right? And Onkelos understands it as the herds of flock. Rabbi Seinu Amru and our sages said, Lama nikra shema ma'ashtar is why are the herds called here? Shema ma'ashres is ba'aleim, because they enrich their owners. So our sages give a different knach on it, and they say that it means that it makes rich. Like the word ashir is rich. Okay, we're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Next verse, 14. Baruch tiyeh mikol amin. Blessed you will be from all of the nations, all peoples. Lo yeh b'chan, there will not be in you, amongst you, a kar, a barren, a sterile male, v'akara, a barren female, and among your livestock. Rashi, akar, she'enan meili, means a male man that does not beget children, meaning he's sterile. So there won't be that amongst you. Wow. What a statement, huh? Chaim. Huh?
I live on the corner of Thamadaw and Westbury. I can see very clearly that.
The blessings there. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Good. That's true. Okay. 15. V'heitzer Hashem mimcha, and Hashem will remove from you kol chele, all illness, v'chol madve, and all disease. Mitzrayim haraim, from the evil Egyptians. Asher yadaita, that which you have known, lo yisimam bach, I will not place them upon you. But they will be placed upon your enemies. By the way, how's this? This is all because Eikev. It means because, right? Because what? You won't be a heel. What does it mean not to be a heel? You have to pay attention to the small stuff. Oh man. You hear that, Shimon Leib?
Yeah.
Gotta pay attention to the small stuff. It's not easy to be a Jew. Not easy to be a Jew.
God is in details.
Yes, God's in the details. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. V'achalta, and you will consume. It's called Amim, all of the peoples that Hashem your God is giving to you. Do not spare. Don't have compassion. And don't worship their gods, because it will ensnare you. And if you will say in your heart, Rabbi Magoim, these nations, these people are numerous, many more than us. It's actually many is from me, right? See, actually singular. It's interesting. How will I be able to drive them out? Huh?
Singular.
Yeah, interesting, huh? Rashi 17. Remember, Moshe is speaking to the Yidden before they're going into the land of Israel. This is his last, last instructions. Exactly. Excuse me 1 second. Okay. So Rashi in 17. If you're going to say in your heart, Al Karchalosh and Dilma, Ki means over here, we have to say that it means perhaps. In other words, Shematim, maybe you will say this in your heart. In other words, not necessarily you have to say this, right? But maybe you might say this. You might have this sentiment. What does that say? Because they are numerous. We will not be able to drive them out. I'll tell you, but don't say this. Don't fear them. It's not possible to say ki over here means that it means some other, because the word ki has different meanings to it. Here you can't say it has other meanings to it. In other words, it can mean rather, it can mean if or when. 4 different meanings it has. So he's saying, so Rashi's saying over here, can only mean over here, perhaps. Do not fear them. Well, wouldn't be fit to say that, right? So it means that perhaps you're going to have this sentiment. Don't. Don't fear them. Zachor, remember, Tizkor, you shall remember. Today's learning is in honor of Rivka Miriam Bas Avram. It's her 5th yahrzeit. Her 5th yahrzeit. Mir Neshama have an aliyah. Okay. So, remember, that which Hashem, your God, has done Lefaro to Pharaoh, Mitzrayim, to all of Egypt. Others, God has a good track record. What's that track record? Look what he did to Pharaoh and to the Egyptians. Hamas is the great trials that your eyes saw. Interesting. The trials means the challenges they went through, and God brought them through the challenges, right? Which means the signs. He says, and the wonders, Hayad Chazaka in the strong hand, was very into you in the outstretched arm. That Hashem took you out. So will God, your God, Hashem, your God, He will do to all of the nations. That you fear them. No. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, what we in Egypt, you mean? Yes, I thought you meant the last part. Yes, right. So, in other words, what you saw, God will take care of now. Also, Rashi, Hamases means nisyanis, the tests. In other words, the challenges that you put God to, right? Abai says further, and the signs, Kigoin, for example, the Yelenochash, they became a snake, and they became blood when we were on the dry land.
What do you mean it became blood on the dry land? It shriveled up. I think.
That the water became blood.
Sorry?
Water became blood. I don't know what it means on the dry. I don't know what it means dry land. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know what he means by that. I've seen in the wonders, the wondrous plagues. The Yad Chazak in the strong hands, whatever, that's the pestilence. In the outside charms, that's the sword, shall makas b'cheres, meaning the last plague of the killing of the firstborn.
Whenever we say in prayer, mighty hand, no outstretched arm, this is what it means.
If it's in reference to Egypt, yes. Yeah.
Nagada.
Nagada, exactly. And there we say it that way, actually. Nagada, we say,
Verbatim.
I have to double check, but I think so, yeah.
In Siddur too.
Huh?
Siddur too. In the Siddur, it says that as well.
Oh, yeah?
The other plagues didn't kill, right? They made them miserable. But the pestilence had a killing effect, and of course the firstborn. So those are the two that are a strong hand means a pestilence because it killed. And so in the firstborn, because it also killed. The other things are just, unnerving. The Gamat Tzira, and also the Tzira, Yishalach Hashem Alekecha bam, Hashem, your God, sent amongst them, Ad Avodat Nisharim, until until the survivors, those who hid from you, perish. Avoid means to perish. Anisharim, those who are remaining. Rashi at Sira. What is it, Sira? Sira means sheretzoif. It's a species of a flying insect.
We have that today?
Yeah, you know what it is?
No, I have no idea.
Locusts. Remember locusts?
They're like ants.
Remember
They're
locusts?
flying.
Yeah, but these are locusts. Because they would shoot bile at them, and make them impotent. Mistama is einayim, and blind their eyes. Wherever they would hide. Huh?
It's not a, it's a similar word. The plague. Leprosy.
So again, it seems to be referring to the locusts.
Yeah.
Lo yisareis mipneichem. You shall not be frightened, terrified because of them. Ki Hashem Elokecha b'kirbecha, because Hashem your God is amongst you. Kiel gadol v'neira. He is a God that's great and awesome. V'nashal Hashem Elokecha. It's a goyim hayel mipanecha. V'nashal means to drive out. Hashem Elokecha will drive out your God. It's a goyim, these nations, mipanecha, from before you. Mat, little by little. Lo yisuchal mahir. You're not going to be able to destroy them quickly. Pentir ba'alecha chayis asada, unless the beasts of the field will outnumber you. Right? In other words, well, let's see Rashi. Excuse me. Rashi in 22. Pentir be'alecha chayis asada, lest the beasts of the field increase against you. Alayim oisim ratzon shamakam. But if you do perform the will of God, they have no cause to fear a beast. Shenemar, as it says, and the beasts of the field will be at peace with you. But it was revealed before Hashem that they're going to be destined to sin. So therefore, the beasts of the field were going to they'll be overrun, and they won't be at peace with people. Okay. 23. When the son of Hashem and they will be delivered. Hashem the Shem your God lefenecha, before you. In other words, the nations, right? We're talking about here the Canaanite nations, right there, because that's where they're going now, right? The 7 nations that are in Canaan. This is what Moshe is speaking about. And confounded and confused. Great confusion, until they are destroyed. So Rashi 23, what is this adding over here? So he's giving us some grammar. The hammam will confound them. Not good comments kulai. Vowels with a comment. So because the mem is not part of the root. Oisam. So it's just hey mem is the root of the word, which means confounded. Okay, next 24. And Hashem, he will deliver their kings in your hands. Vavadata is Shemam, and you will destroy their name from under the heavens. And they will not be able to stand up before you until you have destroyed them. Their graven images you should destroy in fire. You should not covet silver, zahav, and gold. Aleihem, that is upon them. That take for yourself, lest it'll be an ensnarement for you. Because this is an abomination to Hashem your God. In other words, these they're gods who will be laden with silver and gold, and you might want to, partake of that. No. Leisavi
So
Eva
cannot-
Beisecha.
Cannot take the silver and gold because it's part of the idols.
Exactly.
And if
Exactly.
they melt down the silver and gold and just take the gold and silver and forget the idols, how does that work?
Good question. Not certain.
Because the gold and silver
Let's learn Chumash
is
and
not
Rashi.
part of the idol, it's
Well,
added to the idol.
maybe no, but it is part of the idols. So therefore, I would think that you can. Here it's saying not to take it. I think it means even if you melt it down. Would that be a
But what could
biblical?
happen is you could move away from where you're supposed to be through because of greed. For example.
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain, but my inclination is as follows. Biblical law is that you can't take it. If you melt it down and now it's something else, so then it might not be biblical law, but maybe rabbinic law that you shouldn't. But maybe it's even biblical law because it says not to take, period, right? So period
I know
means period. In other words, if you take it, it's not melted. Well, if it was melted down by the idolater, then you could take it because it's not idolatry anymore. But if you took it as an idolatry. Once you melt it down, it still it has the prohibition of idolatry upon it. You can't nullify it. As a matter of fact, we learned this in Rambam. It's actually a good point. We learned this in Rambam. If the idolater nullifies it, then it's nullified. The Jew can't nullify it, right? Because we have no connection to idolatry. But the one who's serving idolatry can nullify idolatry. So if they melt it down, then you could take the silver and the gold. But if they don't, and you take it, but you took it as an idolatry, it melted down, it still has a prohibition on it, and therefore you couldn't.
You need the part of the idol also, not the whole idol, just like in addition.
No,
No, you
no,
can't
no.
use that.
Wait, don't
Okay.
don't say what we're not learning. That's not what we just said, right?
Right on.
Okay, 26. Ki savi se'eva el beisecha. Why? Because you're going to bring an abomination into your home. Va'isa cherem kamayu, and you will be destroyed like it. Right? You become the idolatry. You shall utterly detest it. V'seiv ta'avenu, and you should utterly abhor it. Ki cherem hu, for it is to be destroyed. Okay, we're now in chapter 8, verse 1. All of the commandments that I'm commanding you today, tishmerun, you shall heed them, keep them, lasos, to do them, lamantichyon, in order that you should live, orevisem, and that you will multiply, uvosem, and that you will come. V'yirashtem, and you will take possession of the land, Hashem nishba, that Hashem promised. Hashem lavaseichem, to your forefathers. Rashi, kol mitzvah. What does that mean? Kol mitzvah. The entire, because it's interesting. What's the problem over here?
There's a problem that I see is that it's an if-then situation.
So what's wrong?
If
That's
you
okay.
keep- if you
Okay.
keep the
Okay.
commandments,
So why is that a problem? The
because
verse is
it's a
saying that.
condition.
Okay. So therefore, what's the problem?
Sorry,
So okay. So it's a condition.
I thought,
No. Let's not think what we thought. No, really, I'm trying to
Right.
train everybody here how to think. Right? Think in what we're learning, not in what we're comfortable to think. Well, let's learn the verse, not anything outside of the verse. What's problematic in the verse? It says kol ha-mitzvah, but it's a contradiction. Kol means all. Mitzvah is singular. It said kol ha-mitzvahs, that's plural, but it's kol ha-mitzvah, all of the mitzvah. What does that mean? Right? So Rashi says, kol ha-mitzvah should be understood, kipshuta, simple. What does that mean? The commandment, meaning the body of commandments of the Torah.
they're all one.
Well, all of them. In other words, looking them in the oneness
In
of
other
all
words-
mitzvahs.
In other words, you can't look at them individually and say, I'm gonna do this one, but not that one. for
Right.
example. So,
Right.
you know, the commandments.
Look at them
are
as
one
a-
commandment, you gotta do everything.
In that manner. So yeah. But that's his first explanation. Second explanation, which he's probably not happy with it because it's still not written grammatically correct, right? It's not. I mean, it's correct.
Right.
It's just written for a purpose that way, right? So that's a simple meaning. Or midrash agada, but the agadic interpretation of this is he's chalta b'mitzvah. If you began with to fulfill the commandment, Gemara Isaf, complete it. Kol mitzvah means it's not speaking about the entirety of the Torah's mitzvahs. It's about you started a mitzvah. So you say, well, I started it. I have to finish it. Someone else will take them. No, finish it.
Philip.
Kol mitzvah. I know tefillin because you can't do part of because you don't unless you do it all. You didn't do it all, right? And if you didn't do it. You know, if you just. So it means, let's say, I'm going to give a different example. And you started a project, right, to do to collect money for a needy family, let's say. So you started. So okay, let someone else continue. No, you started it. Do it kol mitzvah. Do the whole entire mitzvah. Don't give it up halfway.
In other words, if you started it, finish it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, exactly what Rashi's saying here, right? So she'ena nikras al shema gamer because it's called only after the person who finishes it. So, right? In other words, not on the person who starts it, but the one who completes it. Shenemar says, well, that's why he says Yosef, and the bones of Yosef, Asher Hela, Mitzrayim, that the children were brought from Egypt, B'Shechem, and they buried him in Shechem. But it wasn't a Moshe that he concerned himself with bringing up the bones of Joseph because he was buried in Egypt, remember? And it was in and he took it upon himself. So then why is it not called the mitzvah of Moshe? He's speaking legamra because he did not manage to complete the deed. Israel and the Jewish people did it. So therefore, therefore it's called attributed to them, not to him. Right?
So if someone else takes over your mitzvah.
Then
finish
and they
it off,
finish it, then
they get the credit and you don't.
Well,
So
he
to
didn't
speak.
say credit over here,
No,
by
I
the
know,
way.
but-
He said called on their name. Doesn't mean you don't get credit for what you did. No,
What's the point?
no, well, there's no. It's not called on your name.
I know all about that.
Okay.
Believe me,
Okay,
completely.
but yeah, I'm just make sure you got a distinction there, right? Okay, let's go further.
You don't get the gold medal if you don't finish the race.
Exactly. Okay, let's go. V'zacharta, and you shall remember. Es kol haderech, exactly. Es kol haderech, the entire way. Asher halilechacha, that he took you. Hashem Elokecha, Hashem your God. These 40 years, Bamidbar in the desert, Laman, in order, that he should have that to afflict, that to test you, Ladas, to know. God afflicted you, and he tested you. Why? Ladas, in order to know. Es Hasher b'levavcha, what is in your heart? Hasishma mitzvaysav imloi. Whether you're going to keep its commandments or not. Wow, what a statement. Look at Rashi. So he gave you all of these afflictions and tests, only to know one thing, that you not test him and suspect him and doubt God's ways. Wow. You hear that?
Yeah.
Pretty profound.
Yeah. And he afflicted you, and he made you go hungry, and then he fed you with Aman, the manna asher lo yadaita that you did not know of, that your forefathers didn't know from such a thing, right? Manna from heaven. In order to make it known to you, in order that you should know, not on bread itself, a person lives. Person doesn't need to live on bread alone. Right, of course. What else you live on? Meat. No, that's yeah, but ki alach kol meitzi pi Hashem yichi adam. But what do you live on? What comes forth from the mouth of God, man does live. Psh. It's a spark of godliness. It's in the food that a person lives. Hence, we make a bracha and release that spark of holiness. It's there, of godliness. Wow. Now, so God tested us in order that and then he tested us, he afflicted us, right? We went hungry in order that we should get heavenly food, that we should recognize that food, right? Big test about food, right? Because we eat with our eyes, we eat, and our eyes eat because of the, the how good it looks, as opposed to the divine that it is in it. Yeah, the spark that's there. So that's what gives us the vitality. And your clothing did not wear out upon you, nor did your foot swell these 40 years. Rashi in 4. Yeah? We're good?
Did not wear out. Striking.
1 second.
They weren't barefoot, they didn't work. Oh, I'm ahead of you.
Yeah, Shemeleb. Bolsa, your garment did not wear out. Anani Akova, the clouds of glory, Ahayu, Shofim Miksusam, they would rub their clothes, Vegahutsim, Oisam, and they would press them to make them look good. Kamin Kalim, like freshly pressed garments. Ba'af Kitenehem, and also they're young too. When they would grow, their clothes would grow with them. Like that of a snail, right? That the shell of the snail grows with it. It grows with them. They didn't swell. It did not swell like dough. Like those who go barefoot, that their feet swell up. That's not what happened to you. Okay? 5. And you shall know with your heart that just as a man chastises his son, so does God. He chastises you. The Shemart is called mitzvahs, and you shall keep all of the mitzvahs. Hashem your God. Lalech as b'drachav to go in his way. Interfere him. Yeah. Following?
Yes, sir.
We're good?
Yes.
Zion. 7. For Hashem, your God is bringing you to the good land. Eretz, the land, that is brooks of water, ayonais and fountains, and depths, that emerge from the valleys of Bahar and of the mountains. Eretz Chita, it's a land, and here we have the 7 kinds of fruit of the land of Israel. Eretz Chita, a land of wheat, the Sa'ira barley, the Geffen and vines, the Se'ena and figs, the Rimon and pomegranates. Eretz, a land of Zayis, Shemen, of olive oil, of olive oil, udvash and honey.
$25 a liter now.
Zayis shemen, zaysim, isim shemen. No, it means olives that make oil. That's what it means.
Does that mean that the land west of the Jordan is fruitful, whereas the land east of the Jordan is not?
Not necessarily.
No, I mean the east of the Jordan was
Because the east
grazing.
of the Jordan,
Was
they
east
don't
was
have
grazing. Was
and they
grazing
don't-
land more. It was
sorry,
more grazing
Grazing
land.
God.
It was grazing land. If you remember, Gad and Reuven and
right.
half of Manasseh, they settled there because of they had much cattle, right? that they could use as grazing land. So, I mean, that's the way it's described as grazing land. And here it's described.
3,000 years later, that land is pretty barren,
Yeah.
very desert.
Where on the eastern?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I guess they ate up everything.
Well, unless
I'm just kidding.
unless the weather and the climate just changed,
Right.
or you can look at it as God changed it.
They
The
didn't
Jews weren't there, God changed it so that it became a barren
They
land.
didn't
Yep.
irrigate it. Israel could have.
Okay, let's do the next two verses. Let's finish off. Eretz Asher loy b'miskenus teichel ba'lechem. It's a land which there will not be a scarcity of eating bread. Loisech zar kol ba. You will not be lacking anything in it. Eretz Asher avanei habarzel, a land that the stones are iron. V'maharera and the mountains are will hew copper. And you shall eat, and you shall be satiated, and you will bless Hashem your God, on this good land, that He has given you. By the way, with that last verse, you know what that verse is? It's a mitzvah. Which mitzvah is it? Verse 10.
Sage and you shall bless the Lord your God for the good land He has given you.
What mitzvah is that? Folks who online, anybody? What mitzvah is it? No? No one knows? Huh? Looking, anybody know online? Anybody know what the mitzvah is? Well, read the words and translate them.
Is it reciting the Birkat Hamazon when we eat?
Oh, wait, who said that?
The Coloradan over here.
Who?
Chava.
No.
know.
All right. Chava?
Yeah, that's me.
You got it. The
I
mitzvah
did?
of Birchas Hamazon, of grace after meals. This is the source of it. This is the source of that. Way to go.
Oh, after you satiated, okay.
Right? The verse says, you shall eat and satiated and then bless. From there we learn this is the biblical law of Birchas Hamazon. By the way, which is interesting just to note on that the 1 second.
Who knew the answer?
Chava in Colorado. Took a Coloradian. I don't know if that's right, but
8 o'clock.
huh?
8 o'clock.
That's still early, so they're still, wide awake. Here, we're half asleep. Yes. Oh, okay. You're on Zoom here. I didn't realize. Okay. Yes. So, exactly. So the mitzvah, which is interesting, by the way, it's the only biblical law that we have that you have to make a bracha. All other brachas that we make, like a bracha on the bread, hamoitzi lechem min haaretz, or a bracha on the coffee, a shahakol niya bidvarai, that's all rabbinic. It's all rabbinic. Nowhere else in the Torah does it say to make a bracha, right? Now, in the fulfillment of the mitzvah, it doesn't make a difference, rabbinic or it's biblical, right? We are obliged. Doesn't matter what the source is, but it's important to know the distinction, not in our commitment to the mitzvah, not because of our commitment. Oh, biblical, so I'm going to be more careful because I don't want to be struck down by God. The rabbis, I don't have to be so careful. No. Wait, being careful, and we have to be careful. Period.
Sounds more important.
It's not more important. No,
Okay.
it's more stringent in the law. So if you forgot a blessing, if you're not certain for example, if you're not certain you made a blessing, let's say the after blessing on the coffee, right? Let's say you're not certain. You don't make the bracha. Why? Because you're going to take God's name in vain, which is a biblical law. And because there's a doubt, you don't do that as a result. But if it was a but if it's a benching and you're not certain, that's a biblical law. So then so it would be a different obligation, more stringent when it comes to fulfillment of a biblical law, right?
So be more flexible.
I don't know if that means you have to be more careful, the makeup of the law. I wouldn't say that, no. Should be equally careful for a rabbinic law. As a matter of fact, rabbinic law shows greater love to God than biblical law. Biblical law that you fulfill shows that, oh, I don't want to be struck down by God, so I'm going to be careful with this. Rabbinic law shows that God didn't even ask for this, but we're still doing it. That means it's like your wife didn't even ask you to do this and you did it, right? That's more endearing than it is if she commanded you to do something, right? So being that it's a relationship with God, therefore it's more dear to God. Is that good?
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, I'm going to see you by Tanya in a few moments. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.